Welcome to the After Freedom podcast, where we unpack the moves behind the movement of a generation dominated by social justice. I am your host, Robert Mathenjwa, and with me, my co-host, Vanguard. So for the next few weeks, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the many things that define our self-proclaimed activist generation and the impact those things have. So if you're an ordinary person who has absolutely no idea what the hashtags and infographics are about, this podcast is for you. If you're a politically engaged individual who wants to hear some new perspective, you've landed at the right spot. Basically, if you're a person who's keen to learn and isn't scared of new conversations, you are going to enjoy the coming weeks. Welcome to the very first episode of the After Freedom podcast for 2022. Happy New Year to every single one of you. I hope you had a fantastic 2021. I personally had a shit 2021, but I hope you're doing better. Unam, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. My 2021 was relatively bland, but I'm doing relatively okay. What are some of your New Year's resolutions?
Well, I really don't have any New Year's resolutions, simply because my 2021 was so bad that I spent most of it planning how I'm going to do things better in 2022. So it's literally just plans on plans on plans of what I was going to do. So it's not like something new that popped up because it's New Year. So I feel
like also just like New Year's resolutions are a little bit strange.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you why is it because time in general is also a bit strange. Why is it specifically when it's New Year's?
I don't know.
It's
easier to track because it's easier to track because it's the first. And oh yes, I did have New Year's resolutions. I was like, I'm gonna lift every day.
And then
1st of January, I was like, nah. Because there was still
nobody got time for that.
Yeah, because there was still leftover meat from the braai yesterday. I was like, yo.
I mean, I promised myself I was going to work out. First day of 2021, it was hot. I was like, for who? Sweating. Not today. I was like, no, I'll do it at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. came, I was like, no, maybe 8. 8 came, I was tired.
Dude.
It's no, tomorrow. So I think my only real New Year's resolution is that last year I started taking care of my mental health. Yes. So I think...
What do you want, a medal?
Yes.
You want a medal?
Yes. I would like a medal. A medal, please.
Okay.
It was a big achievement for me because I stopped invalidating myself and all of those nice things. But I think my biggest New Year's resolution is just to get better mentally. And just academics. I don't want academics to kick me anymore. I want to do well in school.
Yes.
I want to prosper. So basically,
Yeah, I'm in university as well, and we're gonna start doing physical lessons. So that means I can't do nothing at home anymore. So that's exciting.
Actually,
and another
effort.
yes,
effort now. Can't cheat you.
Another thing, but this is a personal resolution that I know I'm gonna be good at. I just want to be honest this year, because I figured the one thing that I'm gonna rely on now is, I don't care if I get cancelled, even when I'm being honest. And I'm saying that because what's the worst that can happen? I mean, you're going to cancel me. I can't use social media. Yeah, I'm still going to become a doctor and I'll still make money. I don't care. So I want to be as honest as humanly possible. Yeah. Still open myself up to conversation, changing and apologizing. But I don't want to be a liar. Yeah. And that's one of the things that for me made me want to do this episode as much as I do. Because there's some things that as people, we need to start being honest with ourselves about. So the conversation we're having today is about things that we feel the Black community needs to start progressing in, things that we need to start doing better. So I just want to start off by giving you guys some disclaimers. Number one, the conversation is about accountability and healing, not Black hate. We want to be better. We love being Black. Everyone who knows me knows that. Everyone who knows Unam knows that. So we want to hold ourselves accountable. We want to heal and we want to do better. Secondly, the issues we're going to be giving you aren't exclusive to Black people, because a lot of these are human issues as well. But we need to be more aware of them as Black people because, number one, they may harm us more because they may be more prevalent in our community. Number two, we may be less aware of them than most other people. And number three, they may exist to a greater extent for us, more so than anyone else. And just one last thing. what I want to say is that this may not be applicable to all black people.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
it's not all black people. I think it's impossible to create a monolithic idea of what all black people are, but this is speaking to a prevalence in the community.
I just want to say that before people get touched, you know, it's a conversation. You know, I think it would be very beneficial for people to actually hear what we have to say.
Yeah.
Once again, this is no hate to the black community. Not black. This is no hate to the black community.
She had to whisper that just in case you did not know.
Just in case you can't see. But yeah, this is no hate to the black community. We love being black. We love our community. We love our people. We love our people. We can dance. Excuse me. We can dance. So
who's we, nigga?
So yeah, just as like a final disclaimer, please just listen to what we have to say before getting touched.
Yeah. My first hot take is, guys, we need to stop blaming racism and colonialism for everything. And hear me out, because that gets a bit controversial, because I understand that a lot of white people and a lot of racists use this to invalidate our experiences. But there are some things that we are personally responsible for as well. And that's largely I don't say that for everyone. I say that more so for people who are my age, who are in like my kind of position. So if, for example...
What is that position?
When I say position, I mean you're a person who's educated, you've gone through high school, you might be going through university, or you have some level of tertiary education, wherever that may be. You're relatively well off compared to the people who are your age in 1994.
Okay.
If you are that age and you are deciding that the coping mechanism you're going to rely on for your pain is alcohol or self-inducing, self-defeating behavior, that's not racism's fault. That's not colonialism's fault. That's your fault. Simply because you have, and again, I'm not saying your trauma, your problems, and whatever's bringing you there is your fault, but how you're dealing with it, it's your fault. And this is how I always think of like racism in comparison to personal responsibility. It's not your fault that you are where you are, but you have the power to change your situation.
Yeah.
And your inability to change the situation makes it start being your fault. That's what I think.
So yeah, I think just like as to draw like a parallel to, it's not a parallel, but to draw a comparison to that, it's, for example, how most people who are abusers have experienced abuse themselves. However, you're still responsible for the actions that you take, regardless of what your past experiences or even maybe your current experiences are, right? So I think in that same regard, we need to start taking accountability for the fact that we have free will. We have the ability to make decisions. And I think it would actually be a very self-defeating thing for us to be like, oh no, actually we don't. Because that assumes that as a Black community, we aren't able to progress, right? So we need to start being able to realize that we have the power to make certain choices. And yes, there's so many things that are formed against us as a Black community. But regardless, we still have the power to make choices. For example, for someone who, let's say two people who are living in an underpoverished area, one person may choose to continue struggling in that poverty, another person may choose to resort to crime, right? Although that is an extremely limited choice, it's a choice nonetheless, right? And we can assess whether that's right or wrong in like a different setting, but the existence of choice is still very prevalent in that situation. So I feel like that's just the first thing. Number two, I feel like in order for us to have a constructive conversation on this, we need to understand, Owusi, just because we say that you have the ability to make a choice, it doesn't mean that you don't have negative experiences as a Black person. It doesn't mean that your racist experiences should be invalidated. It doesn't mean that colonialism isn't real. We're not colonial apologists, we're not apartheid apologists, but we're saying that especially for people in our demographic, in our age group, there's a certain amount of responsibility that we need to start taking. Yeah, instead of blaming everything on like this woke idea of, it's because I'm Black. Come on.
And we all have, for example, relatives who would be, for example, unemployed. And granted, because you're a Black person, it's harder for you to get a job. But when you spend time with those people and you realize that they're not waking up every day and going out there to seek jobs or trying to exist in the job market, or even if they're failing to find jobs, they're not trying to maybe start something up for themselves. They're in a space where they are defeating themselves. And then the excuse becomes, I'm a black person, therefore they don't want to hire me, therefore I'm not succeeding in life. That's not okay. That doesn't make sense. And you begin to cut yourself down, because here's the chat. You were born a black person, you're going to die a black person as well. That's never going to change. So you're just going to suffer your whole life. That doesn't make sense. And this is not coming from like, oh no, two privileged people speaking as if they've never experienced anything. We're from the hood. We've been there. We live there. We understand. So I really feel like we need to start taking responsibility for some things, because here's the difficult truth. It's not fair that black people have to be exceptional in order for them to be respected. It's not fair that we have to put in 10 times the amount of work than anybody else in order for us to get anything.
But that's just what we gotta do.
Exactly. Because the alternative is, we want a world where everyone puts in equal effort. How are you going to get that? How are we going to get that if we're not exceptional enough to push for future generations, to push for other people to also have that level of equal grounding? So we need to start taking personal responsibility for some of the things that we do and stop blaming our success on arbitrary factors, because that's when you start not being able to even understand black success or not being able to relate to black success. Because if colonialism is truly the reason why all black people aren't successful, then by that logic, all black people can't be successful. You know what I mean? Because even your greatest, I don't know, your entrepreneurs, a lot of people look up to Vusi Tembegwayo, I think something like that. Yeah. He's black. Is he not meant to be successful? Is it? See, that's the thing. When you use that mentality, you're unable to fathom black success. And that's something that bothers me.
Yeah. You know? And I think sometimes you have to come to the realization that because you're black, you're going to have to do a little bit more, right? I feel like, for me, example, as a black woman, hey. But anyway, as a black woman, I understand that there are some instances where I could be exceptional, but the results or the way people are going to interpret me is just as an average person, or as just a very basic person in relation to my male or my white counterpart. That's something that I just have to understand, right? And it sucks. It sucks. For sure. It sucks. But the fact of the matter is, when we look at things such as, number one, there's so many sacrifices that people make in order to achieve a level of success. Number one, I think within the black community, there is such a big push for all of us to be successful. Like there's this sort of, I don't want to say propaganda, but there's this notion of constantly posting like, I want to be successful, or like these luxurious things that all black people black people want to access. And that's perfectly fine. But realistically, if we're not willing to take the steps in order to achieve that success, then like posting on your WhatsApp, on your Instagram is not going to get you that luxury car. It really isn't. Hey, you have to put in that extra effort. But number two, I feel like we can take like understanding from people who, for example, people who move to different countries in order to achieve a level of success because their country is literally failing. I know of a lot of incredibly exceptional people from Zimbabwe who have to move from Zimbabwe, people who are engineers in their countries, people who are engineers in Zimbabwe, who have to move to South Africa because it's a better political, quote unquote, better political climate. However, when they move here, they have to, quote unquote, downgrade. And I'm saying that very loosely, but they have to downgrade their sort of intelligence and their success in order to survive. So you have to now work 10 times harder, even if you are exceptional, in order to succeed. And those are the same exact black people. Those two are like black people, and they too understand that sort of like grounding. When we look at Asian success in America, they had to make sure that that's a sort of grounding that they have in order for them to be successful. So in order for us to be successful too, I feel like that's just a genuine thing that we need to understand. Yeah.
And it takes me back to school as well, because even, and I hate being this person who's like, oh, look, I did well, you should be like me. No, that's not what I'm saying. But in school, particularly in matric, I so that I can go to the store. ngithenge airtime ya 20 rand so that I can buy 1 gigabyte at night so that I can download the learning material and watch YouTube videos and do all of those things. And I know for a fact that my white peers, my Indian peers, my colored peers, the majority of them didn't have to go through that. They have uncapped Wi-Fi at home.
Yeah.
That's what they are. I didn't have that in my matric year. But I had to do what was necessary. And I feel like it's more so, and I think it's painful for how we react to Black success as well. Because once you start putting yourself in that space of being successful, you're no longer taken seriously or even accepted in the Black community.
Black person. It's so weird.
Because even for me in school, I started doing better, and then people were like, no.
Wow, it's the coconut.
Yeah.
It's an Oreo.
Which pisses me off so much because what do you mean I'm a coconut? What do you mean I'm an Oreo? That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, for me, it just feels like within the Black community, we just feel like success is so unattainable that when you start to be successful, you're far away from being Black. It's so weird. Like it's like my success or me being smart doesn't make me an equivalent to white. Like my intelligence shouldn't be an equivalent to whiteness. It can be smart and Black. Like, dude, I don't understand the logic there. It just doesn't make any sense. And I feel like for umuntu khulekasi, it's like, you know, when there are gangs and all of that stuff, and if you, and I know this is going to sound very arbitrary if you've never experienced this, but if you start taking physics and you pass, it's like, hi, we are pass. Why are you like taking your studies seriously? It's a very defeating environment of, if you want to go home and you want to study, it's like, oh, Mjita, we need to like get this sorted. We need to like chill by the tuck shop and just wait for hands. You know, it doesn't make sense how so unattainable we think success is for us. So
for me, I became a cheese boy at school.
Yeah,
what is that? You know, and that's weird to me. And it's not even a school thing. It translates to real life as well. You know, when Black people start businesses. You know, I see it all the time on Facebook as well. We don't take those guys seriously. If you post that you got a job somewhere, you get like 1,000 likes, whatever, it's going to pop for you. But if you post that you're starting a business or you're trying to do something, it's like, nango munye futhi.
Yeah, it's like there's another one.
It's not taken seriously. And even on a more local level, if you want to start a tuck shop, and I know this because my dad runs a tuck shop as well.
Yeah.
It's people show up with not money, they show up with audacity. They show up with like, they are millionaires in audacity, bruh.
Yeah.
They will show up and then they'll be like, all the time, which means like, I'm buying from you all the time. Why?
Like, you should give me a discount.
Yeah, discount, or like, give me this and I'll pay you tomorrow. And I'm like, nikalam, if you were to go to a spa, would you say that?
How do you ask for a discount to tuck shop? How? Like, how do you, where do you get that audacity?
Man, like, you would not say that to white businesses. You would never, ever say that. But it is wired in you to take Black businesses and Black success with no respect. And I feel like we really, really need to stop doing that as a community. I feel like it's not supportive towards each other. And I feel like it's very self-defeating for our cause.
Yeah, and I feel like I remember, and I'm going to use this example because I think a lot of people can like aspire to be like Ufuse Tsembegwayo. I remember he was in one of his like seminars, he was talking about how he had gone to Limpopo to start like a center, a Wi-Fi hub, and all of that. And it was people within government who literally brought him down and said that this is not his area, or this is not a place where he has grown up in, so he has no right to start something here. This is our turf, right? And it sounds, it's so territorial. And it's so weird because it's like this hub is literally going to be beneficial to anyone. It was going to be a free hub that he was going to start in the area, and whether or not he actually planned to do that, like through and through, no matter how big he planned to make it or how small he planned to make it, the fact that he had that idea and Black people in and of themselves felt the need to bring him down simply because it wasn't his turf is just strange. It attests to how weird we are sometimes. Like, it's just weird. And I think Another thing that we can look at when we want to talk about Black success is things like tribalism. Why you don't want to see someone from a different type succeed? Well, what's up with that? What's up with that? And I think as a Zulu person from KZN, this is something I can speak upon because, hey, in the streets, sometimes KZN is the streets, but I love my province. But anyway, I think it's very weird how even within Blackness in and of itself, we don't want to see, for example, Zulu people don't want to see Zulu people succeed. But if you're Xhosa and you want to succeed in a Zulu area and the other way around, it ain't gonna happen, boy. You genuinely have to be exceptional and you have to be, you have to hope for the best in order for you to succeed in those areas. And I feel like when we do things like that, when we further create divides in and of us, within our communities, that further defeats the whole purpose of like Black success. So like it makes it easier for people to be, number one, racist to us. It makes it easier for us to just like genuinely not succeed. So I feel like that's something we have to take into account. Yeah.
Yeah, because the reality is the everyone in the world doesn't like view and be like, that guy is Tonga, that guy is Swati. No, he's just all Black.
Essentially.
He's all Black to them. So I don't understand why we have to move in that way. And this, like, it reminds me of a conversation that I had with an Uber driver once who took me to a gateway. And he was speaking to me about, the riots that happened back in July in 2021. He was like, yo, looting is not necessarily the solution here. He was like, right now I'm taking you to a gateway. And I don't know how much you're going to spend there, but probably upwards of like 500 or something. Imagine how many people are there right now. Today, Gateway is making more than $1 million. Today. Just
in
today.
a single 24 hours.
And he's like, imagine if we had that.
And distributed within the Black community.
Yeah, if Gateway was just like Black-owned stores the whole time. But we could never do that. The reason why we could never do that is even now, even today, we are unwilling to take Black businesses seriously. There are Black companies, Black tech companies making smartphones. You will never pay them any attention. You will want to buy the Samsung, the iPhone, whatever, because it's what makes sense to you. When it's payday, when you get paid and you have to go buy groceries, simple example, you're going to go to Spar, Checkers, one of those places. You're not going to think, oh snap, there's probably like a Black-owned supermarket here and there. No, you don't. You don't think like that. And this is, again, one of those situations where it's like, sure, every other race does it as well. Every other race is buying into these major corporations, but we need to build a community more than anything else, particularly among Black people. White people don't need to be a community and have all of those things, because if a white person has a bad idea or they have like the wrong view, it's that person's view. That's fine.
It's not the entire. I think that's a burden that like kind of, it's not a burden, but it's a weird responsibility where as a Black person, you're not an individual, but you are an entire community. If you mess up, it's all of us. It's all of us, my guy. So if we flop, it's not the one. So I think that's just also like another privilege that I think other races have, is that you can benefit from being an individual. You have the opportunity to be an individual, whereas within Blackness, your actions don't only affect you, or there's a perception that your actions don't only affect you, but they affect us as a whole community. Yeah.
And like even in school, I'm not sure if you'd remember this, when I was the RCL, whenever.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, whenever we would have to fight for Black people, the person who would fight for, I'm not going to give the title, but the person who would communicate to the whole time about these issues, they'd be like, oh, we spoke to this Black teacher, and this Black teacher said that what we're doing is correct. I'm like, yeah, but I'm telling you it's not. That's what I'm telling you, you know? And it's whack. But
I think that's the same thing also like with the students. Like, you know how it's so, dude, there's so much, because it's like people would ask us to mobilize and rally for them, and we would do it. Go to the principal, be like, hey man, we want to talk about this.
We don't care. We don't
want to, we want to. And then when it's time for there to be a collective effort into putting into work what people have put us through,
Yeah.
then people are like, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't.
Because I remember, I know the situation is about. I remember that day. Like, the day before, the whole day, we were like fixing the problem, trying to get like people speaking, whatever. And then the next day, those same people that morning, they were like, we're Robert's thinking. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And that, like, guys, it's annoying. You know, we're never going to get anywhere if
we're willing to throw each other under the bus so easily, man.
And there's always this example of like, black people are like crabs in a bucket. They're always holding each other back. Why would crabs be in a bucket in the first place, you know?
That's the first question.
No, that's unrelated, but like, why?
Why are you in a bucket? What are they doing there?
Yeah. But for us, it's why do we have to think that way?
Yeah.
Why do we have to move that way? Because what that often leads to as well is when you paint when you paint someone in a certain picture, they become that picture. That's the real truth. And that's why you see with a lot of successful black people nowadays, they're not talking the black language. They're not talking black. They're not living black because through that journey, the support that got them there was not necessarily from their community most of the time. And granted, there will be cases where black people will make you feel like community. They will make you feel like you're one of them. Most of the time, it's when you've already achieved success.
Yeah. When you're already at the top. Yeah.
But during that process, it's never there, which is why sometimes some successful people feel alienated. Again, I don't want to give them excuses though, because some of it is like, it's bad. I think it's bad, particularly when black people in positions of power have an only me mentality. Yeah. It's me or it's either me or nobody else. Exactly. Ain't nobody going to be up here with me. Yeah. And I've been in situations where I was interviewing for bursaries, where I was interviewing for jobs, and there was like a full panel of people of different races. And obviously there was like black people on the panel as well. And when it comes to the black person on the panel, they were the most difficult on me. They gave me stank eye. They gave me weird faces. And I'm just like, bro, like, I'm not that I want you to give me an advantage. The bare minimum you can do is treat me the same. I want the advantage. Yes, we'd want it. I would want you to see me and be like, yo, I need this. I want the advantage. But the bare minimum you can do is treat me the same as everyone else. That's the bare minimum. And I think sometimes I think, okay, I think sometimes I get it because, for example, sometimes your parents are harder on you than any other relative will be. And the whole concept around that is, I want you to be successful. But sometimes it's just unnecessary, bro. Like, why are you hating? I'm just trying. I really am just trying. And I think with this podcast, for example, personally, I think, we have received an incredible amount of support and we're very grateful for that. But I've had people just be like, who the hell you think you are? Like, what ideas do you have that you could possibly share? And it hurts. It's like, damn, okay, well, ouch. But at the same time, it's like... Next time they're like, who do you think you are? Tell them who I am is the host of one of the top 20 politics podcasts in the country. That's who I am. Go home. Go eat your noodles. But yeah, I think it's things like that. It's like, even with our personal experiences, we've had some pretty nasty black experiences. And I think in the same way in which we always talk righteous about black people is the same way in which we can be like, yeah, no, but we need to fix this. We need to fix this. We need to fix this. Yeah. And the one hot take we need to speak about, successful black people. Stop it. You really stop. And what I mean by this is, again, before I start the point, I want to say that I'm guilty of the only me thing as well. Yes. Like I've definitely done it as well. I've been in spaces. In school especially. Yeah, in school. I've been in spaces like, for example, in debating where I could think of one instance where I was on a team and there was another black male on the team. And we just didn't like each other, like for no apparent reason. Like we just did not like each other because it was already wired in us that, there's only meant to be one of us in here. There's only meant to be one of us in here. Yeah. Because I ain't gonna make it. I mean, right now he's literally one of the only people I still like speak to from debating, and I think he's cool. But at the time, I couldn't fathom why I didn't like him. We really need to stop that energy. Another thing successful black people need to stop doing is, can we stop building our success on the exploitation of other black people? Yes. Can we stop that? That is energy that generally needs to stop. And the people who I'm speaking about here I'm speaking about you guys who hop on Instagram and say that you are traders, you are doing this and that. And then you sell people people who are poor, because obviously the only people who would want to buy into it are the people who want to get rich fast as well. You sell them into this and then you scam the shit out of them. You have money, sure. You're doing good, sure. But you are building it entirely off of breaking down your own community. Not only them, but also you guys who climb up the corporate ladder because white people, the bigger people, see you as someone who appeals to the urban crowd, us black people.
Oh, yeah.
And then they use you.
So like willingly, and I hate using this term, but willingly being an Oreo or like wanting so hard to be that Oreo. Yeah.
And it's when you get there and then because you're black and because you're trusted, you leverage that over a community to put them in horrible situations. We are literally sick and tired of politicians coming from places we know, people who we trust, who come to us, they sell us dreams only to throw us under the bus. We're tired of it. It happens all the time, even in the corporate space. I'm going to go forth and say it. Like the person who is running the country right now is someone who is wealthy entirely off of black exploitation. Entirely. Right now, we can be quiet off of the fact that this man's miners literally wanted the bare minimum, which is to be paid well. What did they get instead? They got murdered. Was there any accountability for that? No, there wasn't. Because we are unwilling to hold other black people accountable as well. Those very same successful black people. I think even there at the top, when we get there, we really need to start doing revisions, guys. We strongly need to start doing revisions.
And I feel like, for me personally, I feel like I've heard this analogy where it's our mentality is it's either I am the only black, the best black, or the first black. And I think, once again, I think it was Simbagwayo who said this. I don't know, hey? But I think that's something that personally I resonate with. I think a lot of time when I was, and I think this is how I know this is ingrained in us, is because when I was a child, even in primary school, I would get mad lit for the fact that I was the best black student in class. Baby, it's a party. It's our party. We're turning it up, right? Not because I'm the best student in class, but because I'm the best black student in class, right? So even if that means everybody's failing and I'm just above average, but because I'm the only above average black student, it's a party. It's a party. So I think that's the first thing. Number two, in terms of like the whole concept of being the only black person, we've already spoken about that, but the first black person, I think, that reflects a certain sense of resilience, because if no other black person has done it, then for sure you want to be the black person who does it. You want to be the black person who uplifts the community. But the question is, what do you do about that when you get to the top? Is it an equal distribution back to the black community, or are you hoarding?
It very rarely is.
I mean, but are you hoarding that success? And I think we can talk about a lot of things here. We can talk about capitalism. We can talk about classism. We can talk about how different classes of black people interact with each other, how private school kids interact with kids from local schools, how private school kids interact with kids from Mikasi, vice versa, how kids from Mikasi interact with the cheese boys who are kids from private schools, right? We can talk about all of those things and how, generally speaking, the kids from the private schools are going to think that there's a general uneducatedness to the type of blackness that exists. We can talk about all of those things. And I think, man, it's a lot to unpack. It really is a lot to unpack. And I think it doesn't start, but it becomes so prevalent in your academic success. In our school, I remember in the top 10, man, I don't care how many other race of people were in the top 10. If there was one black person, it was a party. It was a party. And I think there's a genuineness to how we celebrate. Sometimes we celebrate each other's success. And I think that needs to be translated a lot more in everything that we do. But I feel like nobody can win within blackness if we torment our own selves. Because even when you benefit from that sort of coconut or Oreo idea, which is a little bit crappy, but anyway, even when you think you are like the token black person, you don't really benefit from that because you have to lose an element of yourself. Exactly. You have to lose that sense of blackness. You have to lose the association with your community in order for you to flourish in that space. Man, these people can lie to you. These other races, they can lie to you and be like, oh yeah, you're just like different. Like your hair is not nappy like everybody else's. How much relaxer you put in that hair? How much straightening iron you put in that hair? At the end of the day, naturally, your natural state of existence, you are denying when you appeal to be in that coconut or Oreo mentality. That's just my take.
I think the one thing that I want to leave as a message is it's the beginning of a new year. We're starting things fresh. Let's take the time to reflect and to hold ourselves accountable when it's necessary.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this week's episode of the After Freedom podcast. Be sure to follow us on all our social media platforms at After Freedom SA.
We're popping on TikTok.
We are on TikTok now.
Yes.
It's very uncomfortable and strange, but we are on TikTok.
We're making funny memes.
No, we're not.
Just kidding. We talk serious shit on TikTok. Please follow us there.
Please follow us on TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. And thank you so much, guys. Just a reminder, we love being black. We love black people. It's just a chat.
Yes.
All right?
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Follow us everywhere. Make sure you don't follow us home.
No.
I'm keeping that. I'm definitely keeping that.
Okay.
Okay.